Yeah, I'll try to edit that out. Okay, this is Hero Job Shy, the Musings of the Shies podcast, and I'm interviewing Leslie of Dogecoin Athletics, and we're going to talk about Dogecoin, clothing, and just whatever comes to mind. So
Awesome.
Leslie,
Thank you for having me.
you're welcome. Thank you for coming on the show. So let's get started, Leslie. Let's talk about did the clothing company or clothing idea come first, or were you into Dogecoin first?
I was actually into Dogecoin first, and I was looking for clothes to buy to represent our awesome coin, and I just didn't find anything that I actually liked personally. It didn't really suit my taste, so the next step was really just to make some stuff that I thought looked cool and offer it out to other sheeps.
Okay. So how did you become involved with Dogecoin?
I started off as a Bitcoin enthusiast, looked into Litecoin also, and just fell in love with Kabosu, really, when I first saw her. Like, everyone falls in love with her, right? That nice little
Yes.
picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just saw that. Once you have that, it brings a type of attitude, personality to our community and to the coin, and that's just something that Bitcoin and Litecoin don't have.
Mhm.
And so I saw a lot of potential in that, and really the community is what makes coins successful. So it was a no-brainer. Just fell in love with the community just from that.
Okay. So you have experiences with other communities. When did you get involved with cryptocurrency in general?
I was a little bit after the boom once it started getting into the media, about a year and a half, 2 years ago.
Okay. Did you start out mining, or were you purchasing, or how did you
A little bit of
dabble?
both.
A little
Uh,
bit.
yeah, I got in when people were still using the PC graphics cards.
Oh God.
Everyone was thinking they were going to make money, and
Mhm.
everyone ended up just not making money. So I got out of that once the ASICs came along, and once the ASICs for the script mining came along, it was pretty much the end of it there. So I kind of got out of it. Period. So I just purchased some, invested in it, and then also started up the store.
Okay. Let's talk about starting up the store because I find the whole clothing thing is part of, like, I guess, the resurgence of a maker's market occurring right now. How did that go about? Like, did you already have an affiliation with clothing? Did you use online suppliers? How did that go about for you?
No, this was actually from the ground up.
Mm-hmm.
And I just did a lot of research before I started, just how we could get the clothing going, how we'd use payments. And the big thing that I just wanted to do was make sure that we accepted Dogecoin. And that was like my number one priority, just because looking around, half the stuff you see online, you can only buy it with a credit card. You can't even buy it with Dogecoin, so it didn't really make much sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you understand where I'm coming.
Well, no, I
So
do because when I saw things that were up for sale, like you see it in like some of the known internet like clothing places, people put up a meme or the picture or whatever, and they order the T-shirt thing, and it's for credit card, it's not for Dogecoin, and it's like, well, that's just ass backwards.
yeah, exactly, exactly. So, yeah, I just looked into all that, and I saw that it was feasible to do with, a relatively modest investment. So, just looking at suppliers and all that, put everything together, and now that's where we're at today.
Okay, let's talk about suppliers and design there. Did you commission the design, or did you use already existing like common pictures? What did you do? How did you go about
The
that?
all the designs were made personally.
Uh-huh.
My wife also helped out with the female clothing. And it wasn't so much that we took stuff that was existing, but we took themes that were existing. So we ran with the athletics type style, collegiate style apparel. There was the cool thing about Dogecoin is it actually is aesthetic to that. It actually works. The actual name and then Kabosu and everything. We have our own mascot, so there's something else that all the other cryptocurrencies don't have, right? So it all just fit perfectly, and they're all personally designed. Nothing was taken off of anyone else's ideas.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that because when you look at Dogecoin Athletics, and I wanted to talk about the fact that you do have female wear, because a lot of times you see with clothing, all they do is like they go with like a men's small and they call it female wear. That is obvious from your site and stuff like that. You guys took the time to not only design the picture and frame it very well onto the t-shirt, but you also, gave some props to the ladies because it's obvious it's actually a ladies' tee and not, like a men's small.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely wanted to do that. Something like you said, just actual women's clothing that they could wear. So I'm glad you noticed that. Do you like it?
Yes, because it's like, we have boobs, guys. Come on now. It's like it doesn't work the same. It doesn't.
Yeah,
Um,
that's I give credit to the wifey for that one. I told her, I was like, hey, let's make some stuff for the ladies, and she jumped on the computer and made some nice little designs, and that's what she got.
so I see like your stuff, you're pretty prominent in the community, but what I also see is I see people like I guess they either purchase your items in bulk or they get your items somehow and then they resell it either on Much Market or Such List and stuff like that. How do you feel like that people like they like your product so much that they want to, I guess in a sense, be a reseller?
I don't have any problem with that whatsoever. I mean, if they want to do that, that's more power to them. Yeah, fully supportive of that,
Yeah,
100%.
that's why I feel like you with your particular your of the Dogecoin businesses that are out there that you have like when someone wants to resell your stuff, either a markup or whatever, that's like that means something to me. That's an indicator that you have a quality product. Um,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
so let's talk about just like I said, I find the whole idea of clothing fascinating because of the you can I don't know if you observed this, like there's the SC stuff, there's the all these people are creating and making clothing now, and that's a big market and stuff. Have you considered expanding, or you guys are more of a small focus? Do you have any plans further with Dogecoin
No,
Athletics?
right now the our main goal really was just to have a clothing line that you can only purchase with Dogecoin.
Mhm.
That was the goal. Like the goal wasn't to make $1 million in 5 to 10 years, nothing like that.
Mhm.
Uh, it was just solely based on the fact that anything I tried to buy Dogecoin related online was with a credit card. So
Okay.
if you look at goals, pretty much we've met our goal with what we tried to do, and
Mhm.
that's what we're happy with right now. I mean, if you know, in the future we can definitely expand, but right now, pretty much we're happy with the way things are going.
Okay. And let's talk about a little bit about the community. You've been part of or participated in part with Shibe Saturdays. Let's talk about that. Have you seen like an increase like on sales on Saturdays or how the promotion of that? How has that gone for your business?
It's helped out. Like I've noticed definitely that the sales are gravitating towards Saturdays.
Mhm.
So it definitely helps out. People get a little bit of a discount, and they keep the Dogecoin going. But the funny thing is that believe it or not, that what I've noticed in a couple other vendors is as the value of the coin goes up, people are less willing to purchase. I don't know.
Oh.
It's a complete opposite from what you would think.
Mhm.
Like whenever the coin shot up in price after we what did we just do recently?
The last halving.
No, not necessarily the last halving, but the yeah, it slips
Afri-
my mind right now.
was it like the Africa to the moon
No,
or
no, when we switched over to
oh the Litecoin
yeah,
merging
yeah,
with
yeah,
Litecoin? Yes.
yeah. I'm sure you could edit this to make it smoother.
It's okay.
uh, yeah, once we did merge mining with Litecoin,
Mhm.
our value jumped up quite a bit, and I was looking at it like, all right, cool, everyone's gonna start purchasing stuff. And actually, what I noticed was people were less willing to spend because the value went up, and you can kind of guess as to why
Mhm.
people would want to spend less when their coins worth more. I was like, okay, people are gonna start buying it up, get more bang for their buck, and actually the opposite happened. So pretty interesting.
It's an interesting correlation. I was not fully aware of that. I would think that with the way the community is, that they would want to spend more, get more out of the Doges. But that's interesting. I'm gonna have to look into that.
Yeah, even other guys online, Pex Peppers was talking
Hmm.
about the same thing. A couple other guys on the message boards were talking about that. So we just found that kind of interesting. It's kind of reversed if you think about it the way it should be.
Yeah, the whole purpose, for me, at least, on a philosophical sense, is I want to use Dogecoin online. That's where I see the value of it. I don't necessarily see it as a value like with Bitcoin where people use it as a stock option or even Litecoin. I
Yeah,
want to spend my Doge. I want to use it. So maybe as a community, we need to emphasize the functionality of Dogecoin.
yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Well, then let's talk about the big thing because as a member and part of the community, you've been part of various different little projects there, and one of the biggest ones was the Josh Wise deal. How did you get involved in helping putting the T-shirts out there?
Yeah, so I wasn't a part of the initial funding for Josh Wise. You had Dennis Pavelon who came up with the idea,
And I
and
interviewed Dennis a couple episodes back. Yeah.
yeah, awesome. It was an awesome guy. He's the one obviously that started it all, and Dogecoin Athletics wasn't a part of the first drive. What happened was the second T-shirt drive was unavailable for anyone that wanted to purchase in Dogecoin, right? Because the
hmm
initial one was done by Moolah.
Yes, and
So
that disaster.
yeah, so I'm sure that's like a whole nother podcast, but
Yeah.
so a lot of the members were holding back. They didn't want to purchase because they just didn't want to purchase it with credit or cash. So what happened was I got talking with Dogecoin PR. He was the
hmm
one kind of running everything, and I was like, hey, just go ahead and send them this way. I'll take their purchases in Dogecoin and go ahead and purchase the hoodies and the shirts for them through our site. So that's how we got involved with that. Just to keep the basic principles going. You can't support someone with Dogecoin if you can't use Dogecoin. So I got a lot of good support, feedback from that. A lot of the guys that purchased off of our site, they said, hey, if you wouldn't have done that, I wouldn't have bought one, just because, for that very reason. So it was good to be a part of that, and it looks like our sponsorship's working pretty well. We don't have a full car right now, but we're gonna get a pretty decent spread. So.
Well, have you seen the little internet trend that some of the shows are doing with getting Josh Weiss sponsored by Netflix?
Yeah, yeah, definitely seen that. If he can get Netflix on board, if we can help get him on board with Netflix, that would be so awesome.
That would be so awesome. But I wanted to talk a little bit about that because that's a big step for you to kind of take the acceptance of Dogecoin because in a sense I understand with clothing you have to like you have an X amount of materials, the cost effectiveness and stuff like that. And they were at one point weren't going to sell any more T-shirts because things weren't going well for them. I mean, were you going to be on a financial end holding the bag in a sense if this didn't work out?
No, no, not at all. The
Mm.
Josh was so cool about it that he said, I'm sure you remember, he said, hey, regardless of the orders, we're gonna go ahead and go with the print.
Mhm.
So there really wasn't anyone that was going to have to hold the bag. If we didn't hit the limit,
Mhm.
the original intention was you got to hit the limit to make it. But Josh is so awesome that he was like, "Hey, don't worry about it, guys. We'll go ahead and print these up regardless." So yeah, there was really never any issues. As far as we were concerned, we were basically just the middlemen that were processing for Dogecoin purchases.
Okay. Well, that was like I was like that I like the fact that like the Doge community was able to rally and that a shy oriented business like such as yourself was able to step up and enable that to happen because it seemed like it wasn't going to go any further, especially with the bad taste of moolah. But
Yeah.
just talking just in general as far as operating a business in this very kind of almost wild west frontier style. I mean, are there any concerns for you as far as hacks? Have you had any? I know sometimes some even off the wall cryptocurrency businesses experience like DoDS attacks or anything like that. Have you had any those type of experiences?
No, not yet. Fortunately, we don't keep our Dogecoin online. We take a lot of it off. We use
Mhm.
coin payments, and coin payments has been pretty consistent. They've been pretty dependable throughout this entire time.
Mhm.
So, the standard rules apply. You just got to be safe about how you're logging into your computer, protecting your info and stuff like that. So we haven't seen any issues yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
And as far as just a little bit on the Josh Weiss thing, uh, have you ever considered, maybe licensing the T-shirt and selling it, even though it might not go for another financing of a car, just to keep that image going through the community? Or have you considered doing your own kind of NASCAR Josh Weiss thing?
Now, the big thing about that is, NASCAR, no one's going to be using NASCAR without their permission.
True.
Yeah, so that's a big endeavor.
Hmm.
We're basically sticking to Dogecoin, and the sponsorship of Josh is how
Hmm.
we would reach out through to NASCAR. So we're
Okay.
definitely going to keep our own themes going, and
Hmm.
every opportunity we get, support Josh, try to get him into NASCAR, or excuse me, to try to get sponsorships for him on NASCAR. So.
Okay. And the other thing you did, and maybe not enough people within the Doge community know about this, but you helped sponsor the River Shibe in his journey down two rivers in the United
Yeah.
States. How did you get involved with Eric, and how did you that come about?
Yeah, the cool thing with Eric is he did it a lot different. He
Hmm.
he pretty much said, "This is what I'm gonna do, and I'm just gonna start posting to the community about my trip." And I thought that was awesome. He didn't jump on board and say, "Hey, I'm looking for such and such sponsorships to get me going. I'm looking for this amount."
Hmm.
He just went out there and did it.
I know he's crazy. I interviewed him. I was like, we talked about his journey and stuff. And I have you ever, experienced going over the Mississippi or the Ohio River or anything like that yourself? Like on a car or fly over by plane?
Probably seen it in the airplane, but I can't say I've actually touched it myself. So
Okay. Well,
yeah,
I've traveled a lot and I've been over the Mississippi a few times. Just imagine like, you're driving your commute and the highway systems, there are like 6 lanes on each side. That's pretty much the Mississippi times two. And he's
oh
doing that
yeah,
on water. And he's crazy.
yeah, yeah. He's awesome. Like
He's
what
awesome,
he
but he's
did
a little
was
crazy.
in a good way, right?
But yes, in a positive way. Like that's just I'm impressed by him.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing is that he just went out and did this on his own. I thought that was awesome. What he did was based on being physically fit, and being
Hmm.
athletic. So it kind of rang with us too. And then just to top it all off, he was really good, supportive, and it was just our way to support him. So we sent him some big care packages, a bunch of clothes, because I don't know how he was. Did he tell you how he was washing his clothes out there?
Yeah, like through the river. Yeah, when
Yeah,
he
so
could. Yes.
I figured he could use a couple extra T-shirts, some water bottles. I gave him some of the female gear to give out as gifts on his trip. So
Hmm.
yeah, it was really good following him. Looking forward to his next trip. So we'll definitely be supporting him again.
Yes, he's talked about that a little bit. He has some plans, and I'm going to touch base with him when he gets sooner to finalize in anything. But I was
You gonna
just
give us a sneak peek?
maybe a sneak peek. Well, I also know he's trying to put his documentary together too, and that's a priority for him of his journey and stuff. So
Okay.
yeah.
Awesome.
But that's when I've seen you on the boards, and then I was following him, and I noticed that you were supporting him, and I was like, this is like, this is one of the reasons like I'm part of this community where, you have Eric, he's saying, I'm gonna do this thing, you guys can follow me along, I'm gonna go and, support, Dogecoin and make people aware of this, aware of this community in like this unique way, and then as a business you came in and, we support this as well. And it's just, to me, this is just a demonstration of the kind of connectiveness of this community.
Yeah, and if you think about it, it's just awesome that it's so easy for us to send them support too. I mean, not as far as mailing them packages, but just plenty of guys are sending him Dogecoin,
Hmm.
and obviously he wasn't spending it out in town, so I'm assuming that he just took whatever was donated and spent that much in dollars type thing, kind of
Hmm.
did the conversion on his own. But basically, we support him out there with Dogecoin, so that was pretty cool too.
Okay. Well, let's talk about that as a conversion point. As a person who accepts, Dogecoin for payments and goods and services as a business, uh, have you seen any shift or trend as far as you being able to spend it on materials or stuff to support your business yet?
No,
No.
no direct vendors will accept it that we could use.
Mhm.
I haven't sold any of it on the exchanges. The majority of it gets kept. I'm partially an investor also,
Mhm.
and then also definitely have used eGifter. Uh,
Mhm.
Easy way to purchase things through the gift card system. So
Okay.
unfortunately, we're gonna hang on to it, but looking forward to the day when we can actually use our suppliers with Dogecoin.
And what do you think is as of now? I know the big shift now is a lot of merchant acceptance, but what do you think is the big acceptance as far as business to business? I believe that's what it's called to get businesses to accept, cryptocurrencies on their end and stuff.
Yeah, they're waiting for it to actually have value and be used more. And I
Okay.
honestly think that our launch pad to actually making Dogecoin a success is actually with such list.
Okay.
Yeah, such list is it's like a no-brainer that's in front of everyone's faces that's not even getting used as it should be. I mean, we're talking about like a free eBay
Mhm.
that uses Dogecoin as the currency, so it's actually giving it value and utility as a currency. And it's so easy to use, you just look around your house, sell some stuff that you don't need, get Dogecoin for it, and then look back on such list for what you want, and then purchase it again. So I think that if you go back to, you know, the basics and actually just use it as a currency, that's what's going to bring us success. And if you look at Bitcoin, that was kind of the same way, right? Because
Mhm.
what was Bitcoin being used for when it got put in the spotlight?
Pizza.
Well, that was back in the day, right? But
Yeah.
Silk Road, right?
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
take
Silk
away
Road.
the
Yes.
illegal activity, and Silk Road is no different than what such list is. Okay, so take out the illegal activity. People are using Bitcoin to transfer goods and then repurchase on the website, and that's ultimately what got Bitcoin value, right?
Yes, and I don't think there's enough props given to Silk Road despite its illegality because I've done a few episodes. That place alone within 18 months was doing 1.2 billion dollars.
Yeah, yeah. See, and it actually like pegged a value for what people were willing to give and take for Bitcoin. And
Yes,
we
and
have the exact
yeah.
same thing. We have the exact same situation, but Inquam, the guy that's got it going, he isn't even charging for it. So it's
No, he's not.
absolutely free. So I don't know if you've had him on yet, but you need to get that guy on there, and we need to start pushing such lists because ultimately I think Dogecoin needs such lists to be successful, or something similar in that way. But that is right in front of our faces, and it's available right now.
Yes, and I think that's what is key. And I know they've redone the design of the site to make it easier to upload and sell and make people awareness. And you're right, that is right there in people's faces, and it's something that people can use and to trade in and out and use Dogecoin and keep it circulating within the community. And you don't have to, convert it to cash or gift cards.
Yeah, just hang on to it and use it again. And funny
Mhm.
story, I I was trying to promote his site, right? So I was auctioning some koozies off, and
Mhm.
I jumped on Reddit. I was like, hey, koozies on such list, and put it on an auction, and I ended up selling them for about 2 cents a piece.
Okay.
uh, yeah, not enough traffic, not enough people jumped on. I sold koozies for 2 cents, and one of the guys I sold it to, he actually sent me more. He's like I feel bad because really isn't fair. So he actually sent me a little bit extra. Not that I asked for it or needed it, but I sent him his koozie for a little bit extra. But that just kind of shows that it's not really being used like it should, and it's got so much potential.
Mhm. Let's talk about potential. Where do you see, Dogecoin like within the end of this year or cryptocurrencies in general?
The end of this year, probably not much movement. It's a marathon,
Mhm.
and if you look at the past couple years, well, about the past year or so, we've actually been taking a little hit.
Mhm.
But the cool thing is that Bitcoin's leading the way. They've got so many millions invested in it. They're building the infrastructure, and so everyone is really piggybacking on Bitcoin. And the place where we stand out is we have the community, we have the right attitude, the fun-loving attitude, and all we got to do is just show that we're also using it as a currency. And then once a business accepts Bitcoin, it's just a small step for them to accept Dogecoin if they know there's that many people using it. So to answer your question, I think it's a marathon. I don't think much is going to change.
Hmm.
And really, we just got to sit back, keep doing what we do, have a good time, work to build our infrastructure, work to give it value. But ultimately, it's up to Bitcoin and the power behind that to kind of get everything going.
Okay. And to speak about community, what do you think, beyond our just fun-loving nature and stuff like that, what do you think really distinguishes us from the other type of cryptocurrencies that exist out there? Because it's not necessarily as many people, because it's definitely Bitcoin has more people, even Litecoin has more people. But what do you think is like the je ne sais quoi, or that thing that makes us really truly different?
It's it's just the fun loving aspect of the community. The fact that we do sponsorships, the fact that we all spend money on good causes also. It's not all about just promoting ourselves, but the water wells and whatnot. So
Mhm.
it's not all about one thing. Bitcoin's Bitcoin to ultimately make money,
Mhm.
to profit, but we actually do good things too. And then it all goes back to the community. If you don't have a good community for your coin, it's not going to work.
Okay. And have you dabbled in other coins besides Bitcoin, Litecoin, or Dogecoin, or have you just primarily focused here in this spot?
No, just strictly Bitcoin and Dogecoin. Those are really the two that I see that have the most potential.
Okay. And would you have any like big advice or any ideas that would help anyone that's like listening and thinking, oh, this guy just has a small site and he has Dogecoin, shirts and items, like how they could start their business in this space?
Yeah, absolutely. My best advice would be keep your expectations and your goals uh, in check, and just be mindful that just a business period. If you take the cryptocurrency aspect of it out,
Mhm.
and online business is tough with however many people you have out there. You're competing against the whole world essentially.
Mhm.
So you got to have realistic expectations, and then once you throw in the cryptocurrency factor, you have to realize that it's going to be even tougher. So just realize that you're not gonna. It's not going to be easy. You're going to have to come up with something unique, and just be patient and have your expectations in check. I could throw a couple numbers at you, a couple demographics. A lot
Mhm.
of people might find this information useful, especially with Dogecoin. So based on our site, we've got several thousand hits over the last couple months. And what we're looking at is a 95% male,
Okay.
and the majority are between the ages of 25 and 34. And their interests are usually technology, technophiles, computers, and video games.
Okay.
So, if you're trying to sell, kids clothing for Dogecoin, probably not going to work out too well. So just keep in mind the demographic that you're looking for. Look for something relatively suitable for that demographic, and that's what I have based on my numbers.
Okay. Well, I knew that cryptocurrencies were heavily male, but I didn't realize it was that heavily male. Like I would think we would, be a little bit better than that. But what about globally? I mean, what's the furthest package you ever sent out there in the world?
I have to see between. I'm not sure who's further away,
Mhm.
Australia or Great Britain.
Okay.
Yeah, the international guys are there too. Got international guys checking us out on a daily basis from the most random places you would think. And
Mhm.
unfortunately, the shipping cost is really what kind of holds them back.
Mhm.
Not much more we could do about that. We pretty much sell to break even, especially with international guys. And even back home, we got our prices pretty low right now.
Okay. So do you see yourself mostly within the first world basis? I mean, have you seen any like, hits from China or India or
Yeah, yeah,
around this?
absolutely. They're got a couple of hits from China. India doesn't really quite ring a bell. I'd have to
Mm-hmm.
check on that. But from the most random places, you would imagine people are checking us out. So Dogecoin's fan base is pretty much worldwide.
Okay. Well, as a business person, and I'm curious about this because I've been doing a little research on this subject, but I haven't really got quite an answer. But why, with all the interconnectivity that the globe has, that our shipping prices, our international shipping, is still so kind of high? Like it doesn't seem like there's been a disruption in that to where the prices kind of go down.
Yeah, I wish I knew. You're looking at the guys that get away with it are guys that are mailing out letters. You
Yeah.
know, yeah. If you're mailing stickers, then you're good to go. You're sending someone something for like a buck.
Yes.
I wish I had an answer, but the cheapest you can usually get things overseas is like for $15.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems a lot, especially considering that there's with let's use Amazon as a big example. Like Amazon's all over the place. They ship globally and they have all these different infrastructures or FedEx with their planes. You saw Castaway where he's crashing in a plane in the ocean. You would think that would somehow go down to where it would go down where you're able to shift goods because if everyone's all about commerce and selling stuff, you would think they would make it easier. Or maybe they don't want to make it easier because they don't want competition. I haven't really seen a clear answer.
Yeah, the only way to get around the shipping cost is for, say, everyone in Australia to kind of get together and make one purchase.
Oh.
Uh, yeah, and then that's really the only way to get around it. Once the one package gets there, they would redistribute. But that's something that the community from a certain area would have to do.
Mhm. Okay. Well, is there anything you wanted to convey to the community or, talk about your business or anything that you have you might like a new shirt or new idea that's coming online or anything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. Saving this for a good time. I guess this is as good a time as any.
Okay.
We actually over purchased the Doji Crew 15 2015 gear, so we have several sets of sweatshirts we're going to make available in the next several days for those that
Awesome.
missed out on it. But the catch is that you can only purchase it with Dogecoin, so
That's no catch
stand
for
by for
me.
that.
That's no catch for me. And you think about it, there's still people in it's the snow apocalypse is still happening in some parts of the country.
Yeah, there you go. And there's always people jumping on Reddit saying, "Oh, I missed this. Where can I get one?" So we
Yes.
kind of looked ahead with that, purchased several extras, so we'll be making those available in the near future.
Are there any tiny, tiny women size?
Absolutely. What's your size?
I'm a small.
Okay, okay. I will make sure we get you some stuff. Thanks for having us on. I appreciate it.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry there. Hold on a second. I'm sorry. We are going through a fall spring. I don't mean to upset East Coast people there here in California, and all this stuff is in the air and it's messing with my allergies. I know, I know. I shouldn't be complaining about that. There's still people with snow and stuff, and you know, 3-degree and 14-degree weather, but it's like so killing me right now because it's not supposed to be like this. I'm not supposed to be like this until like May.
All
Ugh.
right.
Yeah. But, Leslie, thank you so much for coming on. You explained a lot about, being part of this community and what you're looking for and just you're a business that I personally like and trust and root for to be successful in this space. And I just appreciate you sharing your knowledge and sharing your thoughts. And I'm going to let everyone know that, potentially there's going to be some of those sweet, sweet Doge Crew sweatshirts out there.
All right. Thanks for having me. It was a lot of
Thank you.
fun.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for coming on, and I really appreciate it.
All right. You have a good one.
Yep, hold on one second.